this next story, Areva, I'm happy that you're here for this next story.
Ooh, yeah.
It's about that time of year when families start planning their upcoming summer vacation. But one Alabama family's trip, this is from a few years ago, is now making the news for a very surprising reason. The happiest place on earth? Not for the family in this next story. They're making headlines for threatening to sue Walt Disney World after their 8-year-old son was bitten by a non-venomous snake that had dropped out of a tree inside Disney's Animal Kingdom park. The family, though, said the boy's great-grandmother witnessed the entire incident and immediately started suffering breathing problems as a result. The boy was reportedly attended to by a park medic with a Band-Aid. But the next day, the great-grandma was taken to the hospital after still feeling unwell, and 2 days later she died from what doctors say was a massive heart attack. Family's attorney says they're now mulling over filing a formal lawsuit against Disney for the injuries sustained by the boy and the wrongful death of the great-grandma. Is this just a case of someone being in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or does this family's lawsuit have merit?
So what's the deal here?
This is like law school year one, right? Proximate cause. I mean, do you expect a snake to be there? And if they knew, if there had been another case of a snake, maybe so, and is a heart attack foreseeable? Am I sounding like an attorney?
You are. You're doing a good job. Let's talk about intervening factors. The lady is, what, 80s, early 90s?
Early 90s.
Yeah. She was in a wheelchair. She had the heart attack 2 days after she saw her grandson get bitten. And we should be clear, he was bitten and had a Band-Aid. There wasn't blood gushing or, you know, really horrible things happen.
Wouldn't it be traumatic for a grandma to see her grandson or her great-grandson?
Well, traumatic to see a snake. He hates snakes. He'd flip out.
I hate snakes, but I wouldn't sue Disney World if I had a panic attack with snakes. Now, the reason this is particularly pertinent to me is, in emergency medicine, there's a certain likelihood that someone's going to have a heart attack. And if I ever send a patient home who has chest pain and they're in their 80s or 90s, there's not an unreasonable chance that they will have a heart attack within the next week or month, because quite honestly, that's a long-lived life and things can go wrong. To blame it on a snake that fell out of a tree that landed on the grandson, it is such a stretch medically speaking. I was hoping that you would say this would be a tough case to prove, because if that's the case, everyone's going to be getting sued anytime anyone has a heart attack. If your yard wasn't cut properly and it gave me anxiety and then I had a heart attack, so I'm going to sue you. You got to be careful with this stuff.
This case is really tough, because what we're also hearing is that the family returned to the park right after the incident happened. Now, that's in dispute, but at least that's what the Disney folks are saying.
Tickets cost so much. Why would you in the day
But
with
they
just
didn't
a
take
Band-Aid,
grandma.
right?
They didn't take grandma to the hospital when it happened. So all of those things are going to make this case really difficult for them to win in court. And I'm kind of with you, Travis. I don't want everyone that goes to Disney to be thinking about every time something happens that makes them a little uncomfortable, that's a lawsuit. That's not what the courts are for. If it's a real lawsuit, something that Disney did, if they were really negligent, then by all means, file a lawsuit. You're entitled to compensation.
At least give them some free tickets to the park?
Disney, for PR purposes, absolutely invite them back, give them a wonderful weekend at the park, but don't file a lawsuit.
It seems like everybody goes after poor Disneyland or Disney
Well,
World.
Is this a case of, okay, let's try to create a case because they have deep pockets? And I don't love
want to
that.
attribute that motive to the lawyer. Listen, in all fairness, he's thinking about it. No lawsuit has been filed, and maybe once he sees our analysis,
he's going to
think longer and harder about it.
I can make a big paycheck from this. Admit it.
Well, plus, when someone dies, you want to blame somebody. That's just part of the grieving process. Grandma's
dead.
gone.
Yes.
She was fine. She was just laughing. So I can see how this would happen. But, I do think we are a little lawsuit happy in the country.
We're trigger happy, particularly in some states, California in particular. But some lawsuits are meritorious and they should be filed. I don't think this one is one of those.
Obviously, at the end of the day, someone lost their life, and we're not discounting that at all. Disney did say through a rep that the family's allegations are an utter mischaracterization of the facts. And, this is one of those, if they do bring a lawsuit and they win, there's many more to come. People are going to be going to Disney World or Disneyland, trying to, come on, Snake, Rachael, where are you?